Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on July the 2nd, 2024. I'm your host, gaming psychologist, and with me, as always, trying on different shells.
Caffeine Rage.
On today's episode, we will be discussing our May Game Club, which was another Crab's Treasure. We will remind you about next month's Game Club, which we've already revealed to be Baldur's Gate 3. In the news, the new Crazy Taxi title will be an open-world, massively multiplayer AAA game, according to Sega. Game recording comes to Steam. Forza Horizon 4 delisting announcement prompts a huge player surge. And from our community corner, Steam users have spent $19 billion on games they've never played. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello. I have a question.
I have an answer.
Why are we going back and talking about open roads and not another Crab's Treasure?
Did I say open roads?
No, you said May Game Club.
You
said another Crab's Treasure or May Game Club.
Oh, oops. June Game Club. Don't mind me. I forgot what months were.
And I'm just nitpicking.
Yep. It's all right. June Game Club.
At least I'm pretty
Crab's
sure you
Treasure.
said May in that.
I'm
not braining too well right now.
I put May in the notes. I probably said May. So, it's fine. It's take 3. We already did a take 2. Take 3. No, I'm not starting over. It's fine. We'll leave it in. That's not even worthy of editing it out in post. We'll leave it in. But, yeah. Hi, buddy.
Ah.
How are ya?
Tired, sore. Usual for, Tuesday. Sure.
I'm pretty good as far as Tuesdays go. I mean, I'm a little tired, but, I'm an old man who gets up too early and does too many things. So, I did a lot of research today. I'm, in the sort of next step in my career development is, beyond just, continued education stuff I have to do to maintain my license, is, you can either pursue, further additional certification, or you can just kind of stay where you're at and just maintain your eligibility to keep your license, stay certified for insurance. But I want to keep going. I've always wanted to be a clinical supervisor. I want to teach, but not in a school setting. I want to teach people and supervise people who are trying to get their license. And I've been licensed for a couple years now, fully licensed. And so I was well, I know that one of the requirements is you have to be a fully licensed practitioner for 5 years, but I don't know what else there is. So I was doing research today, and I get to go back to school if I want to do this. So that's going to be fun. It's not a full thing. There's just a couple courses you have to take as single adjunct classes at universities or as special training seminars.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they are expensive and time consuming and whatever, but it's all that shit's a racket anyways. There's some
education.
Yeah. There's some meat and potato stuff that's really important from what I've been looking at, but some of it's go take the course. It's okay, fine. I did a lot of researching today and figuring out how to fix my driveway without spending a whole bunch of money.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Eventually, we went to either concrete or asphalt the whole thing because it very slowly, the bottom of the driveway gets washed away. But just because of the way that the water drains down the hill here. But, I definitely don't have the money to concrete or asphalt the driveway. And I was looking at getting some gravel to fill it in and re-gravel it. But the minimum load of gravel from all of the suppliers in my area that I can get is 2 tons. I don't need 2 tons of gravel. 2 tons.
Are you sure?
2 tons would redo my entire driveway and then some. And I don't need to redo the whole thing. I just need to fix and fill in where it's washing away at the bottom.
Oh no! It sounds like you need to redo your entire driveway with about 6 inches of gravel.
It's as far as money for things like this goes, that's not that expensive, but God, it would be so labor intensive. I don't have a tractor. I don't have anything that could compact the gravel. I don't.
Have you checked your local library, see if they'll loan you a tractor?
You laugh. you joke? The library wouldn't, but I bet there are places around here where I could rent a tractor. I know that like you can rent like bobcats and things like that. Like, and I've driven. It's been a while, but I've driven tractors, dozers, bobcats, uh, little bucket loaders. Like I've driven all kinds of stuff, man. But no, 2 tons of gravel, $250. It's not that expensive, but again, labor intensive, and it's way, way more than what I need. So I'm back to the drawing board because I don't want to. I don't want to waste a 1.5 tons of gravel. Leave it in a big pile. My kid could play in it.
No, no. Do you have a neighbor that you don't like?
No, I mean,
Do you have a neighbor that you want to start a war with? Just
no.
leave 1.5 tons of gravel in their front yard.
Yeah,
Just a giant pile.
yeah. Here you go, Jason.
Here, Jason, from Sarah.
Enjoy 1.5 tons of gravel just dumped right around all of your trees. He's planted some kind of. What did he tell me they were? So, I mean, they're apple trees.
But to do that, you also need to leave 7 liters of fuel.
Of course.
If you're going to go full cow.
Of course. A trailer. A big-ass fuel trailer with 7 liters in it. But yeah, no, he planted, they're apple trees. I forget, like, what kind of apple trees they are, but he planted a row of them. And he's like, yeah, in a few years, I'll have apple trees, and this will serve as, like, a nice property divide, because we don't have a fence at that part of the property. And like, I mean, he's a decent neighbor. He's an older guy. He's retired. He just kind of toodles around in his yard all the time and in his backyard. You know, the kind of stuff that I'm going to do when I'm a retired old man.
Yeah, and if you leave the apples on the ground, the deer will show up and get fucking wasted on them.
Dude, we already have so many deer that come through here on a regular basis. Like, there has to be some kind of gentleman's agreement where all these rednecks are not out here like killing deer.
Or it's just in city limits and, because that's kind of what happens here.
We are not within city limits. We're like right on the edge, but we are outside of city limits.
Or the rednecks just don't know.
They know.
Well, here, we're in, within city limits. But across the way, there's an apple tree that, in the autumn, when it drops its apples, they ferment pretty quickly. We're like in the perfect weather for that usually. And the deer just go over there and get fucking wasted. It's like a dive bar for deer.
Yeah.
I've watched a deer just go over there, eat a bunch, and then kind of just drunkenly stumble back across the road and go sleep in our yard to sleep it off.
Yeah.
And the deer seem to love it because they keep doing it.
Good for them. Just, just enjoying life. Getting a little boozied up.
Mm-hmm.
But,
speaking of getting boozied up.
Sure. That's a way to transition, I suppose. So you and I have this little thing, we do once a month called Gameclub.
Month-ish.
Month-ish, yeah. Called Gameclub, where we play the same game at the same time on purpose and talk about it. And for the month of June, we played a little game called Another Crab's Treasure, which is a cute, like in a nutshell, is a cute spin-off, a cute underwater spin-off of Dark Souls. I mean, I'm only slightly joking. Yeah. It is within the Souls-like genre. And it is a Souls-like game where you play a little hermit crab whose shell has been stolen by a literal loan shark.
Yeah, a literal loan shark.
And you're on an adventure to get it back in Dark Souls style glorious combat. And we played it.
Yeah, I haven't played enough. I really haven't played any of the Souls-like games to be able to draw direct comparisons on how the game compares.
Oh, interesting. So, weirdly, I'm going to be the more mechanically focused of the two of us, because I have played...
Or at least to other games in this genre.
Yeah, because I have played... I have not beaten, but I have played Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and The Surge, and what was the other one? Lords of the Fallen? Is that what it's called? Lords
I
of
think
the
so.
Fallen. Yeah. Yeah. Lords of the Fallen. I've also played what's the anime one? There's an anime style or an anime Dark Souls style game where you're like vampires. I could just Google. Let this go faster. Anime Dark Souls like. Well, that's not helpful because these are actual animes. I should put anime style. Don't mind me. I didn't do my any homework. Okay, I can't find it. Like it exists. It's a Dark Souls like game where you're like anime. It's like an anime style vampire protagonist, and you have like an AI companion that's with you at all times. I've played it. I've even talked about it on the show.
And I'm blanking on it.
Yeah. Oh well. I'm not gonna spend any more time looking for it. Oh, never mind. Here it is. Scrolling through my Steam list. Code Vein. All right, there we go. I found it. Moving on from where we were stuck. So yes, I've got a plethora of Dark Souls like games that I have played and have not beaten because I'm bad at this style of game. I do not, in fact, get good, son.
Which is kind of an interesting thing with this game is that it's one of the first, if not at least one of the more popular ones that has extensive options for tweaking the difficulty. And I think,
Yes.
and I'm not going to get into the debate of should a Souls-like have difficulty sliders because I really think that's a call for the developers, you know? I don't think there's a right answer either way.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, if a developer wants to include, easy mode, it's their prerogative, you know?
Yeah. I have long maintained that they can, and it would not be a problem.
And I don't think it was a problem for this one.
No, absolutely not. I found them to be quite beneficial. Of course, there's the hilarious gun.
Oh, yeah.
Accessibility or difficulty feature. But there are a whole host of other ones. Let me pull up the entire list.
I mean, from just slowing down the game in general to reducing enemy health, getting a bigger parry window, which it took me quite a while to actually realize I had to go into the moon snail, which is your save point, bonfire, whatever.
Yeah.
To be able to unlock stuff. So I thought, oh, this will just unlock later. And later kept coming and going. And wasn't until after a while I realized, oh, I have to be here to unlock things.
Yeah.
And the fact that the parry is an unlock does feel a little bit of a dick move.
Yeah. Okay. So since we've already started this way, to talk a little bit about the biggest difference between Another Crab's Treasure and other Souls-like games that I have played. There might be others that do similar things to what Another Crab's Treasure does, but for the main ones that I have played, the biggest thing is the way that you build your character out. Because in all of the Dark Souls games, and in the Surge, and in Lords of the Fallen, and in Code Vein, the way that you build your character up mostly is through the gear choices that you make. I mean, you can level up, get more health, get stronger, whatever, but you get to choose different weapons, different armors, and armor types, and those greatly affect the playstyle. Do you go for a big two-handed weapon? Do you go for two small weapons? Do you go sword and board? And there are inherent, rock, paper, scissors type mechanics. You're giving and taking on the gear that you pick to build your character out. And for Another Crab's Treasure, there are some changes that you can make based on the shell that you get, the shell type that you get, but you've basically got, some magical abilities that you can get.
Umami.
Umami, which I thought was adorable. And then your fork, you've got a two-pronged fork that you find at the very beginning of the game. And that's the only weapon that you have. And again, the shells can change it a little bit. But broadly speaking, you've just got a quick attack and then like a slow, strong attack.
Well, there's also a running stabbing attack.
Yeah, but for in general combat, if you're like, going toe to toe against an enemy,
Yeah.
and dodging, parrying, etc., you got quick attack, and then you've got strong attack, basically. Whereas in the other Dark Souls and Souls-like games that I have played, your combat can be drastically different based on the type of weapon that you choose and the different armor that you choose. So that's a huge change right there. One that I actually don't like all that much. It's fine. The combat is fine. I don't have any issues with the combat, and especially with the difficulty settings to make the parry window longer or have the enemies have less health or things like that. Like, it makes the combat manageable for me. Although even without any of those things, it felt inherently a little easier. Although, who knows? That could come down to like game design decisions. It really could be easier. I'm not versed enough in the genre to know. This felt easier to me than Dark Souls, but it was still difficult. It's not like I was breezing through the game, the parts that I did play. So that to me is like up front, like the biggest difference between another Crab's Treasure and the other Souls-like games that I have played in how you build out your character. And I don't think it's either good nor bad. It is a design choice that they made, and it's fine. It works. I prefer the wider breadth of gear collection and customization available in other Souls-like games that I have played. But their system is not bad.
And where I haven't played them, this is kind of baby's first Souls-like for me. And I found it was just, I never was able to really dial in to either get good or, get the assist in where, it still felt like a challenge, but it didn't, take away all the challenge,
Yeah.
Which, is more, me not spending more time with it, honestly. But I also had a couple crashes that sent me back pretty far. Get through a fairly lengthy area, which one other thing that I do know that they do differently from Dark Souls is that areas are more open. You're not directed on a direct path that has a set goal, essentially. It's more, you're in an area with go over here with your compass pointing in that direction. Have at it.
Yeah.
And the view distance isn't that great by design because it is an underwater game. And I know one of the major designing level design things for Dark Souls, and this is mostly watching design delve, is Dark Souls is really big on showing you a big landmark as your navigation aid. And another Crab's Treasure just never really does that. So there was sometimes I would just kind of wander around and not really sure where I should be going. I mean, it's marked on the compass, but the compass is pointing to a wall.
Right.
And between that and finding the camera sometimes, it just left me a little confused.
Yeah. Yep, the camera, I would say, has a tendency to, but I experienced enough issues with the camera sort of drifting behind an object or being at like a weird angle whenever you're trying to do something and making it difficult.
Especially whenever you're platforming, which is something else that is different from Souls-like, is that this is also arguably a third-person platformer.
Yeah, there are some platforming sections. There's I was going to say there's a little bit of platforming in Dark Souls, but that's the wrong way to look at it because there is some things you can do that will get you to secret areas that like it's intended to get there, but it's not. This is like 3D platforming. Whereas with the Dark Souls, it's like, oh, if you like go this way and fall off of this thing or jump in this direction and take a little bit of a leap of faith, you can find this secret passage that gives you an item or a shortcut or something. Whereas opposed to, Other Crab's Treasure actually has some legit platforming and puzzle solving sections to it, which is fine. That's another design choice that like I'm not a big fan of, but I'm also not a huge platforming guy. But I pulled up a list of all of the shells because I didn't. Obviously, I didn't play far enough to get all of them. But I mean, the way that the shells work is that they've got a defense value and a weight, and then some of them, well, most of them, maybe all of them, have an umami power.
Yeah.
Like, for example,
some of them are shared.
Yeah, there are shared powers. But like, for example, the soda can, its umami powers, fizzle, release a pressurized cone of air to push away enemies. The bottle cap, pop off a surprise strike from your shell that launches the enemy in front of you. Tin can, shell shock, transmute your umami into a bolt of lightning, electrifying your shell. So they can have additional effects like some extra attacks or extra speed, or looks like some of them can do things like give you better parry. So the shells are kind of the character customization. You pop a shell on, and it gives you that effect or ability. You can trade shells out freely, and
you can also insure your shells so that whenever you die, you respawn with that shell.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to make sure that one got highlighted as well.
Actually, I like that quite a lot. One of the mechanics I've always hated from Dark Souls is when you die, you lose all your stuff, and then you have to rush back to the area where your stuff was before it disappears and recover it. Being able to ensure, being able to preserve, like, really the most and only piece of gear that you get is important. I think that was a good move.
And you can also turn off the whole, lose your microplastics, your currency,
right?
and the assists.
Let's talk about that. So, Another Crab's Treasure, on top of just being like a different take on a Souls-like game, is very eco-friendly, very environmentally conscious. The whole point of the story, well, not the whole point of the story, but a huge thing in the story that is sometimes backdrop and sometimes in the forefront, at least from what I have both played and seen, is the destruction of our environment. Microplastics are your currency. Your shells are mostly junk, garbage that you find and then utilize. There are enemies that are covered in or utilize trash. There are other characters that, are utilized trash in the environment. Portions of the story are based around trash. And, I didn't beat the game. From what I've seen, though, it's front and center without being like, we're polluting our oceans and it's bad. It's like all of these undersea creatures don't really have a context for what's happening. And so it's just become a part of their world, but you see stuff and it's like, oh, there's a cereal box with,
look, it's a sriracha top.
Yeah. But, it's like there's a cereal box and there's a treasure map on the back of it. And some of the other fish or crabs or whoever it is are like, oh, look, there's treasure at the end of this. We just need to find the rest of the map. And it's like, you're like, oh, no, that's just trash. Just a box of trash. That's a big theme of the game of like, hey, we're destroying our oceans. We shouldn't be doing that. And it manages to make it front and center without being too heavy-handed, which I think is pretty tough. And I appreciate that. I think it's done really well from what I've seen of it. The game soundtrack is really good. It's very, at least the music that I've heard for the most part is upbeat, and a little less, much less gothic. Which Dark Souls does have good music. I'm not like throwing off on the music, but it's like, they went for a much more upbeat, kind of happy or less grimdark theming, which permeates both the art style. It's very bright, fanciful, fantastical. There are dark moments, both in terms of the lighting and the scene composition, and of course within the story. But broad strokes, this is a much brighter, happier appearing Souls-like game. But we talked about this just a little bit before we started recording, and we held off to not get too far into the podcast talk. But like, this is a game that I recognize is good, and that I also like, that I don't want to play. Because if this game with difficulty settings, accessibility features, a fucking gun, it's just a full size gun, and it kills everything in one shot when you shoot them.
You are like in the magazine slot.
Yeah.
And that's your shell.
Yep. So if all of those things don't bring me around to enjoying the genre, then I think that's pretty much it. Like, just the Souls-like genre is not for me. But I recognize that this game is good. It's good on its face. It's good mechanically speaking. It makes some choices that I don't necessarily agree with, but they're not bad. It seems very well done. There's a few issues here or there, like with the camera. I didn't experience any crashes, but you did, and I'm sure that other people did as well. Like, that's frustrating, but pretty much any software can crash. I don't want to hold that too much against them if it wasn't happening constantly to you.
Yeah, it was just a couple times, but it was like the worst possible time,
Yeah.
And I'm in kind of the same camp as you. I never found a difficulty where it was fun difficulty without, well, I just got shot by something I didn't see, and now, I'm at a third health, right?
Yeah.
Which I know that's the Souls-like genre in general, right? But I couldn't find the happy medium between, full on Souls-like to, dipping my toe into it and still feeling the difficulty, but, not just wrecking face.
Yeah. I just looked up the developer there, Aggro Crab, and their other games.
Yeah, their other game was one I talked about. It was Going Under. It was the parody of working in a corporate office.
Yeah,
with a roguelite dungeon crawler.
Yeah. So I mean, this is only their second game. They've got another game that they published called Subway Midnight. Never heard of that before. But this is only the second game that they've made. And as far as
two very different games, mind you.
Two drastically different games. But, for only their second game, like, it's extremely promising for them as a developer. Oh, I had a little bit of a yawn there. It's starting early tonight, I see. It's only 11
please
o'clock.
Don't get bought, right?
Yeah, please don't get bought. Please don't get ruined. I would love to see what you're going to do next. And I'd be willing to play it. I'd be willing to try anything that they made at this point. Even if I don't, like everything that I just said, like, even though I don't really like jive with this game, it has nothing to do with them as developers. It is an excellent game, excellent product. They did a very good job. There's a lot of heart and soul and passion and time and energy that very clearly went into this game by people who wanted to work on it. And it just so happens that I'm not a fan of the genre. But like this game for me, I don't know how far, like, compared to some of the other stuff we've played this year in terms of like our Game Club Game of the Year or whatever. But, like, pretty much in any other year, I think it would be a big contender for me just on how much heart and promise it shows for the developers. Like, I don't think anything's going to be Baldur's Gate this year. Like, I'm trying to keep an open mind because we've still got slots that we haven't filled out on our calendar yet coming into the end of the year, but like, oof, that's big oof to go against Baldur's Gate. But if it wasn't for that, like, this would be a contender for me, I think. Because it ticks a lot of boxes, and I don't necessarily have to like love something to appreciate it. And I appreciate this game for what it's doing for the genre. And I'm sure, like, I have seen people talk about it online. I have heard people talk about it on one of the gaming podcasts I listen to, that like, this is the game that finally got people to understand, like, oh, this is why people like the Souls-like genre, and things like the difficulty features or the slightly brighter setting, making it more palatable to someone who's not into the gothic art style or like the really grim, gross, dark, aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
All of that's on display here, and like I recognize that. It's just not for me. But I mean, if I was rating it, I would give it B plus A minus range.
Yeah, I would give it that seems about right to me. It could definitely do a little bit with more direction and its more open areas.
Yeah.
But that's just really how they designed the game, where you come back, at least in the beginning of the game, to the same area a couple times with different powers, and it's not quite Metroidvania-esque, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So you're more focused on getting to a different area, but the thing is that it seems like it's something that's going to keep popping up that it has a less directed feel than Dark Souls. The whole idea of being on a path, which is a bit of a downgrade for me, because there's not that central landmark. There's not a lot of really good navigational aids. The world map is very artistic and showing this is where this boss you fought was. Well, that's great, but you're not showing me what's going on around me.
Right. That whole thing, though, of looping back around is a Dark Souls thing.
I know.
The way that Dark Souls,
and opening up shortcuts as well, which I understand.
Yeah.
But it felt like it was just missing the mark ever so slightly.
The way that Dark Souls does it, though, I think is a little bit different. Is different because it's pure. Well, I don't know. My interpretation of it in Dark Souls is that it's purely difficulty based, and the game will allow you to go places where that it doesn't want you to go, but you're not geared up appropriately for it, and you will be royally fucked if you're not an excellent player going somewhere that you're not supposed to early on. And I think that's how Dark Souls directs you. Is like, you're getting fucked, go somewhere else, to where that you can get good. And I think because of the gear system and the way that it works, I think maybe that's why, one of the reasons why that they didn't do it quite like that. I don't know. It's pure speculation on my part. But I think that is a limitation that comes with the fact that, your shell is pretty much the only way that you can change your character. And so you've got some powers tied to the shells and the way that you're, attack a little bit and whatever. So it's like, I think that's why they didn't do that. I'm not sure. That's my best guess. But anyways, yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else to say?
Well, there are fork upgrades as well, but it requires finding hidden things.
Yeah, I didn't explore at all. I'm not an exploration guy for the most part.
But the thing is that I only found a couple of the stainless steel relics keys to be able to get the upgrade, and it requires 5 each. Each upgrade grants a permanent 5 increase in krill, your little hermit crab's attack stat. So it's more just a stat change, but it really rewards exploration. But at the same time, it doesn't really change anything. Once again, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, another Crab's Treasure, B plus, A minus, somewhere in that range for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Just not our jam.
Not our jam.
So speaking of our jam,
speaking of our jam, for the next Game Club in July this month, we are doing Baldur's Gate 3. July is a 5-week month, so although from
a 5-week month,
yeah, we'll be doing that episode unless something changes on July 30th, which is 4 weeks from today. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, I mean, really, if you sit down for a week and took a vacation and played Baldur's Gate 3, you could get through it in a week. You could, so it's possible. But boy howdy, I'm looking forward to talking about this one. It could be an extremely long episode. I'm gonna have to try to rein myself in. I have so many things to say about Baldur's Gate 3. Most of them are positive, but we'll get there when we get there.
I'm only in Act 2 right now.
Yeah.
I've just gotten the mods working on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Which is a more involved process on there. Because, of course, the month after we have it set for Gameclub, they're pushing the mod tools.
Yeah. So, but Baldur's Gate 3 coming soon. But what's coming right now? Huh? News topics.
Woo.
So, this one you brought up to me when we first started talking. Well, not when we first, but when we started talking about show stuff as opposed to just bullshitting.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, "Oh, here's the thing. New Crazy Taxi title will be an open world, massively multiplayer AAA game, according to Sega."
Right.
Yeah, dumb. I know why they're doing it. They think that they'll get a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they don't. Fuck them. I mean, it would be sad for Crazy Taxi. I like Crazy Taxi. It's not a game that I love or could spend a ton of time with, but for what it is, it's fun, it's enjoyable. Pick it up, play it for a while, put it down. Good game. That's my
and that's
15-second review.
Crazy Taxi is an arcade game. So it's more geared towards quick pick up and play sessions. Not the long play sessions that an MMO would. I don't know where they're going with this. Assuming, of course, this is just a bunch of buzzwords being thrown together by an executive, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the other possibility of it, is that this is somebody that's throwing out all the buzzwords that are out of date by 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, I could see them making it an open world car, like a Forza Horizon type of game. I could see them doing that. I don't think it would work, but I could see them doing that. That's the only thing that I can think of in terms of what they would do, or maybe something along the lines of Midnight Club or Need for Speed, although massively multiplayer, that feels very Forza Horizon.
AAA game means $70 at this point, right?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I wish that they would do, and I said this to you before we started recording, is just do an update in terms of graphics and maybe add some extra cars or some extra characters to the Crazy Taxi gameplay, and do Crazy Taxi Classic, and then have some kind of challenge mode, or maybe they add a free drive mode where you can just drive around the map and mess with stuff, and a couple other things, and release it for $30 or $40. That probably would be a little bit premium for the type of game that I'm thinking of, but it's AAA developer, Sega, they want some money. Throw it out there for $40. I think you would have a half decent game that knows what it's trying to be, and is giving players that, plus just a little more, since it's you're playing it on your PC or your home console as opposed to going to an arcade, which are basically non-existent these days and have been for a long time. I think that would be perfect, but again, that wouldn't have quote unquote unlimited growth potential. That would just be making something to sell that people would buy, which game developers don't like to do these days.
Yeah.
But I feel like that would be perfect for a Crazy Taxi game.
I mean, I'm thinking along the same lines, honestly. Or even have it where you could go back to the multiple maps where, from Crazy Taxi 1, 2, and even 3, have the mini games that were in 2 or 3. I know one of them had a compilation of mini games that you could play as well, and different challenge modes. I mean, there's a lot of places that you could go that doesn't necessarily mean multiplayer or massively multiplayer online. I do like the idea of a multiplayer, but not massively, I'm thinking more party game size, you know?
Oh yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, same map, just going crazy. It doesn't have to be an MMO. And the thing is that when you bring up MMOs like this, yeah, I'm thinking, yo, oh god, I just had a thought. They're chasing the battle royale. They're gonna have some sort of like battle royale mode.
Probably. I mean, the thing is that the Forza Horizon Battle Royale thing, I mean, it might not be for everybody, but it works. Like it's
I mean, it doesn't have to be a shooter.
no,
I
yeah.
mean, the battle royales I've actually liked have been anything but shooters.
Yeah. And I mean, following the Crazy Taxi like idea or formula or whatever, like you could have battle royale between however many people players competing for a limited number of fares on the map. Maybe there's 100 fares that spawn, and every so often the people with the fewest amount of fare deliveries get kicked out of the game. They lose or something like that. Like I could see that working. I don't know how long of legs that mode would have, but I could see it being like a fun mode, or perhaps like they have different battle royale things, because Forza Horizon's car, what do they call it? They don't call it battle royale. Whatever that mode is called, is like you just get dropped into the map and you drive around and you race people and you upgrade your car. Like they could do something with that for Crazy Taxi, surely. Like just rip off a bunch of different modes, throw them all in, and like that's your multiplayer mode.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that working. Also, like a test drive thing, Crazy Taxi I feel like would work for test drive. Or no, not test drive. What the car crashing, single player car crashing, doing stunts.
Wreckfest?
No, damn, I'm drawing a lot of blanks tonight. There is a series of car games that were like, that was the whole point of the game. You would do crashes and get points for them, and you would do like cool action shots of your crashes. I don't know. People out there listening are screaming at me. It's this game, Jared. It's this one.
No, it's not Need for Burnout.
Burnout. That is it. Thank you.
It just took me a moment because I knew I had it on Steam, so I just had to find the
Yeah, you could do the Burnout style thing. I mean, you more or less could just copy Burnout, I think, and drop it into Crazy Taxi, and it's like, boom, there's your game. Like, I could see things working, just not a full-blown MMO, But yeah, we'll see. We'll see whether or not this is just somebody like, talking out their ass, using buzzwords that they don't fully understand.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping so, but
yeah. So, you want to talk about something that's actually nice for once?
Yeah.
Yeah. So our next news story, very simple title, game recording comes to Steam.
So it's currently in beta. So it's not 100% on Steam yet. But the idea of it is that it's baked in recording software into Steam with the ability to send it to your other devices, easily export the files, share it on Steam. And I mean, it's hard to be upset about built-in recording that is optional, right?
Yeah. This is just a nice little thing. I mean, it's existed for a long time on consoles. Xbox and PlayStation have had this functionality built in for a while now. Of course, there are a bunch of recording softwares that you can have just running in the background.
Mm-hmm. But some games don't like that.
Some games don't like that. You're correct. Both AMD and Nvidia have got their own things.
I've never had the AMD one to play nice with everything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm have an Nvidia GPU, and even it doesn't play nice with everything. But they're just nice things to have, and we do live in a world where that people, capture and share content, their gaming content online constantly. And not everybody's doing it with, a whole streaming setup. Not everybody even wants to stream. They just want to capture a really cool moment and share it with their friends or their Discord group or whatever. And so having this functionality built into Steam is good. I can't see anything bad about it. Use it if you want, don't if you don't. But it's a nice option where you don't have to have an additional software thing going on. It can all just be in the Steam overlay.
And it's also going to be on the Steam Deck itself, with options there to just record in the background for X amount of time with different quality presets, and it'll just allocate that space. Have on demand, start and stop, or have it saves the last that much time. I mean, it's hard to be upset about it. One other thing that is kind of interesting is that game developers that have put functionality into it can have game added markers to the timeline. So whenever you go back and look at the video, you can see icons for different things. So the example they have is from Dota 2, and it shows like different kills and different segments of the game. So they could make it so that the menu appears as like one type of bar on the play line. The lobby appears as another, while the actual in-game playing is a fully filled out bar. And then different events that happen during the match, with the Dota 2 example, appears as icons, so you can quickly see, okay, well, this is when this guy got killed, and that led to this, and this.
Yeah.
And assuming it gets support, which, that kind of is the thing, it's could be a really powerful tool to be able to, if you're trying to improve it like a multiplayer game, be able to just have it sitting in the background doing its thing, and assuming that the game you're playing supports that, be able to quickly see, okay, well, this person died right before I got killed. What happened there, right? And for a game that doesn't have built-in replay functionality, that's the best that you're going to have, right? And with it being Steam level, it's hopefully not going to trigger a lot of anti-cheats. Which I know it's not as big of an issue as it used to be, but I know anti-cheat software used to really hate video game recorders.
Yeah, correct. That is correct. When is it?
It's in open beta now.
Okay, so you have to opt into it on the Steam beta branch.
Yeah, and the same for the Steam Deck. You have to opt into it, I'm pretty sure. And it's in background and on demand. But there's also... it works on any non-Steam title as long as it runs the Steam overlay. Access in and out of game. You can allocate however much disk space you want. They highlight the privacy on it, saying that only records gameplay and not desktop, which is nice. And they're trying to use as little CPU as possible by using dedicated video encoding software on your video card, which pretty much all of them do these days. So, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm for it. I'm probably not going to use it, but I'm for it.
Yeah, I'm also for it. I'll probably play around with it just a little bit. Well, I'm looking for where I can opt into the beta. I mean, I'm not going to fire it up and try it tonight, but I will soon if I've got it. All right. Next on the docket.
It's right here. Go in your Steam, go to settings, and game recording on the left. So I already have it. I guess I'm on the beta branch already.
I'm not on the beta branch, I guess, because I don't have it. Looking to see. I'll just Google it. I would assumed it would be like right here in the options menu. Oh, here it is. Client beta participation. I'll need to restart Steam.
Yeah, well, no, that's right. I went to the beta branch to be able to invite Anita to the Steam family so that she had access to my library, because that's the kind of the updated Steam library share.
Yeah. which I've had Steam Library Share for forever. I didn't realize that they had changed it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the changed one, where it's by license instead of by library.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody starts playing Stellaris, unless you start trying to play that, to harken back to what we were talking about before recording, if you start playing something else in your library, it doesn't knock them out of Stellaris.
Oh, that's amazing. Because that's an issue that I've had sometimes going to play games with my kid.
And it also pools the licenses. So, like, if, let's say you have 5 people in the family, and 3 of them have the same game, you can pool from those licenses. This is how I understand it, of course. I could be wrong. Let's say you guys wanted. Well, let's go back to Stellaris once again. And the group had 5 people in it. 3 of them had Stellaris. 3 people could play Stellaris no matter what.
Yeah.
Because that's pulling from the shared pool. And it's not locking other people out of their libraries, even though they're not playing that, right? So let's say you played it and 2 other people that didn't have it. Well, the 4th person could play something that's in your library, but you're not blocking them. They could go date some tank girls, right?
Absolutely. As they should. All right, now I've got it through the game recording. Sweet. I'll mess with this later. Okay. Do you have to create a Steam family?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least I had to. So I'm not sure if that's how it works when you already have the library share.
Oh, okay. Neat. So the people that are already on my library share, I can automatically add them as family, and then
now
denote
if you
whether
boot
they're child
somebody,
or
there's
adult.
a year-long wait to bring them back in.
Gotcha. And it looks like I'd have 6 spots, up to 6 spots. Cool. Included games. Oh, nice. So I can deliberately exclude all of my porn games from my kid to see.
Yep.
That's really good. Okay, I'm gonna spend some time with this later.
I love that you have to talk about your entire porn collection.
Dude, I have so many adult games. Some of them on purpose, some of them not. Several of my people in my D&D groups are like, tee-hee, I'm gonna send you adult-themed games, which I appreciate, but it's not just me. I have corrupted those around me to participate in shoveling porn games at me. But, all right. I'll get to talk about this soon, I guess, because I'll play with this. But, okay. Cool beans. So, ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, to some not so cool beans.
Yeah, Forza Horizon 4 delisting announcement prompts a huge player surge.
Yeah, which is not a surprise that they're delisting Forza Horizon 4. I mean, it's shitty how they're handling it, basically. Oh yeah, it's getting delisted, and all the random DLCs are pretty much offline now, outside of the big expansions, from what I understand. Now, supposedly they're sending out free codes to Game Pass members that have put time into Forza Horizon 4 for the base edition. But they're also going to do it like they did Motorsport, where if you have the DLC, you do not lose access to the base game.
Yeah, what it says in the article is if you have an active, full paid, whatever that means, Game Pass subscription.
You own it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Game Pass subscription as of June 25th, and you've played Forza Horizon 4 through that sub, and also bought DLC for it, you should be eligible to get a copy of the game via your Xbox messages.
Okay, so it's if you have the DLC, so...
And then it says, sadly, if you've got a discounted Game Pass subscription, whatever that means, you won't be eligible for a code.
Like the $1 ones and stuff.
Oh, so if you just did like the trial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm not sure if I really consider 4 better than 5 or vice versa. They're different in their tones.
Yeah, there's things I liked better about 4, and there's
4
things I
had a
liked
more
better about
focus
5.
on the actual cars, while 5 wants to do some sort of story thing going on,
Yeah,
which I don't think it really worked.
yeah.
Or they needed better characters.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the same cast of characters going all the way back to the first Forza Horizon,
Mhm.
and they were just, sort of, I wouldn't say placeholder, but, they're just kind of silly video game characters. They've always leaned into that. But yeah, I didn't think that the story stuff worked all that well. But they're, different locations, a few different things to the way they approach the game, but, broadly speaking,
The seasons meant more in 4, but also if you didn't particularly like driving in a particular season, you're kind of screwed for a week.
yeah. I liked the songs in 4 better than 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I agreed there.
I'm checking my messages. Do not have any. But yeah, Forza Horizon 4 going away, just like the
Yeah.
other older Horizon games do or have
Yeah,
done.
which is really sad considering, yeah, there's, I don't think is there a physical version of Forza Horizon 4?
I don't know. Probably.
I mean, you'll still be able to play it online for at least a while, assuming that you have access to it. Now, the problem is, as we continue on and on and on, wanting to go back to it, you're not going to be able to if you don't have it now.
Yeah. So
And
there
in
is a
this,
physical version of Forza Horizon 4 and 5.
okay,
But like I think Forza Horizon 3 is like dead, like dead. Yeah. Oh no, wait, no, you can still buy it. Oh, okay. Regardless, right? I'm not going to deep dive into this right now. There will come a day when you will no longer be able to play these games,
mm-hmm.
even if you have a physical copy, because of how online dependent they are.
Yeah,
So
which sucks.
it does.
And
Enjoy
also,
it.
games have this unique position of uh, being a fleeting art style where, yep, they include licensed stuff, but it's only for a limited time. Then it's gone. Movies don't have to deal with this shit. You don't see. Well, okay, this might be a bad example, but you don't see redone movies with completely different soundtracks. I don't think. At least I should say for licensing, not like director's cuts and stuff like that.
Yeah. There might be some, but if there are, they're not widely known.
Now you will see, dumb director's cuts. E.T. being an infamous example of, all the guns being replaced by walkie-talkies, right?
Yeah.
But that's not quite the same. And plus, there might be Top Gear fans that want to go back to Forza Horizon 4 and play that, little goofy set of story missions. Or, all the random shit that they did, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I would say in November, if you played it on Game Pass, they'll probably do a very deep discount on the DLC then. So, might want to grab it then.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of the problem with the Game Pass version is that if you get it on Steam, it's essentially a restart, which for a game like Forza Horizon is tough.
Especially at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Alrighty. Let me get back over here to the topics
Community
list.
Corner.
The last thing that we've got is a Community Corner article. Which is Steam users have spent $19 billion on games they've never played.
I'm in this picture and I do not like it.
As am I. Yeah.
But this is also a little disingenuous. So this is off of aggregate data from 10% of Steam users through I'm trying to find the tool that they used. This is aggregate data of 10% of users from Steam ID Finder's database, which are public, and they calculate it off of playtime, which isn't necessarily true because, or would be correct because playing offline, uh, for me playing on the Steam Deck without an internet connection, which I know offline, but or just grabbing a humble bundle for one particular game that's on a deep discount, and now you have 9 others, right?
Yeah.
And they're calculating all this based off the full retail price and not any sale prices. So yeah.
So I'm looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
They've got on here, and it says down here, out of all of the registered Steam accounts, blah 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 blah. See how many games you own and have never played, and it's got a little thing where you can put in your Steam username and search.
Mm-hmm.
And mine says you have no visible games in your collection.
Same.
Like, it's got my profile status is set to public.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have a feeling it may have crashed.
it might have. It might have. I looked. So I've talked to you about this a bit. Like a little personal pet project I'm doing to play through all of my Steam games. Or, well, let me rephrase. To play all of my Steam games that I've never played before. And, some of them will get talked about on the show, I'm sure. Some of them will be good enough or bad enough to be noteworthy. But for the most part, I just want to clear them out as like a personal thing. And I have 462 unplayed games in this Steam collection that I made.
Mm-hmm.
And there are others that I know I've not played back from when I used to do Steam trading card farming. But I'm not going to split too many hairs on that. I would have to go game by game and like see which ones actually have things like achievements or
DB actually has a proper one or a proper working one for unplayed games. According to the $1,600 for me.
Okay. Where on SteamDB?
SteamDB.info/calculator at the top calculator.
Okay.
And according to this, my account, if I had to buy everything that is buyable, because right, is $11,741.
Damn.
If I bought everything at absolute best price, $5,823.
This says if I bought prices of users' products they were bought today, including discounts, $5,697. I like this. Want to calculate the value of your own Steam account? Get disappointed in your life. I'm not disappointed. All right, where's the thing where it says how many games you've not played? And
it's lowest prices, unplayed games. It's on the left-hand side of the second block.
Oh, okay. Never played. So this says I have 483, which is in line with when I first made this collection. But then there's stuff that it counts that are things like demos that I downloaded and never played. Things like betas or like there's extra stuff that it included that's like, well, that's not a game to actually play, or that's not something I'm interested in. So, but yeah. According to this is interesting. Total hours on record, 16,152. And that means that I've gotten average price per hour, 20 cents is what it's cost me to play per hour.
34 with hours on record, 16,823. But
this is an instant, like immediate, like rabbit hole that I could spend a lot of time on. All right, back to the news article.
I mean, we can't talk about this without not finding our pile of shame, right?
Yeah. Again, I don't think of it as a pile of shame. Just a pile. But
I would say the same because, like I said, just Humble Bundle in general is probably a big contributor to me.
Me too, as well as, like, there was that era in my life where I was trying to do YouTube and Twitch and more down like the
Yeah,
review
and you're a
path.
failure like me.
Absolutely. So, I was requesting every single game I could off of every single site that did keys, give out review keys. So, I have bunches of games I never played from that as well. But that it is what it is. But this is still neat to look at. I didn't realize, you already talked about this, but then we got away from it. I didn't realize like how much data they extrapolated.
Mm-hmm.
That feels, I don't want to say scummy. It feels like too simple. I have done statistics and data extrapolation like when I was in school.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, eventually you can make some conclusions or some inferences like that.
Yeah, but 10% also feels like a very small data point for at least for open information, open metadata like this.
Well, for a sample size as large as what they pulled from, 10% of Steam's users are. Let's see. Did it give the number of Steam users?
They said 73 million. They pulled 73 million in the Steam ID Finder database. So
I mean, that's a pretty big.
Yeah, but it's also a subset of a subset.
Even as a subset of a subset, though, that's a pretty big sample size.
Yeah, but peak today was 36 million.
Yeah.
Just people that were even online.
So, I for the type of article this is, I get it. It's fine. You don't want to go do an entire, deep dive and research paper on this subject. But you could, they should have at least contacted some people over on r/they did the math to get a little bit more detailed explanation of how they came up with those numbers. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. It's interesting. It's neat. Good to know that I'm not alone.
Yeah. It does look like they've also redid their entire top seller page. Or their entire, charts page. They have rolling charts going on.
On Steam?
Yeah. Go check that out. Now I'm trying to figure out how I got there.
I'm just waiting patiently.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Okay, go to store page, the front page.
Okay.
Do noteworthy top sellers.
Okay.
And they have an entire thing where you could look back just down to country. So, gee, what's the top sellers in the Czech Republic?
What's this I just found?
And then most played on the Steam Deck in the last week, the last month, the last year.
Oh, yeah. Steam Deck, top played. Stardew Valley, number 2.
I'm contributing to that.
That checks out.
Baldur, number 3. Also known as Crack, the game.
And Baldur's Gate 3, number 4.
Now, if you go all time. Past year.
Baldur's Gate 3, number 1. Stardew Valley, number 3.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting just watching them change.
Yeah.
Like Dave the Diver slowly falling off. Baldur's Gate still having some staying power. Balturo, going crazy. Forza Horizon jumping 29 points or 29 spots. Disco Elysium jumping 31 when it goes on super deep discount.
This is neat. Online now, 24,603,452. We're 2 of them.
Woo!
All right, this is something to look at later. Oh, they got best of years.
Yeah, well, they have your year in review still.
Nice.
So you can be disappointed in yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I will agree with you once again that it's not really a pile of shame. It's more, extras, right?
Yeah.
Getting back to the topic before we just wrap it up.
Yeah, what else do you have to say on the matter, good sir?
I mean, that's also the thing is that how I usually get games is I'll grab a few during a big sale to play later, and sometimes later just never comes, or sometimes I fired up and it just wasn't my thing. Like I'm going back and forth on if I want to get Spider-Man. And would I play it right away? Possibly not. Which makes me wonder, do I want to get it at $36 or wait for a bigger discount? Right?
Yeah.
So it's more, and there's also games that are getting delisted like Forza Horizon. People are going to be grabbing that. Bundles play a big role in it. People going for free games that are being offered, although not as much on Steam these days. But it's just there's far too many factors to say it's money wasted. Besides, is it really a waste if you're having fun?
Oh, that helps. Having fun helps.
Mm-hmm.
All right, buddy. How can they contact us if they want to send us stuff?
Well, if they want to send you some porn games, you can send the key to VGLpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just drop by the Discord, just message you there. A link to that is over at VGLpodcast.podbean.com. And if you wish to tweet us, well, it still is tweet, at least to us. You can do so at VGL Podcast over on the Blueberb.
And where can they find your stuff if they really want to?
Well, I'm not sure why they would, but if they do, you can contact me, Caffeine Rage, over on the Twitter. I have the email set up, so it will contact me. Or you can drop by Steam, Caffeine Rage over there, or on the Discord. Once again, I'm on it as well.
Yay!
And what about you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at JMA4707, and on our Twitter. And you can set up some smoke signals, I guess. Message me directly on Steam. You've got options if you really want to talk to me.
Yeah, but if I see smoke, I'm just going to assume it's democracy falling apart.
Oof. Big oof, buddy. Too soon.
I have a feeling not soon enough. Right?
You what?
I was saying not soon enough, right?
Right. All right. Rage, why don't you take us home? Take us out.
I'm not falling for that one again.
You can come to my home anytime.
Oh, sure. I already have my boss threatening to make me his captive cook.
Well, you could come be Chicken Man for the commune.
Nah,
We'd allow it.
No, I want beef. I want to do beef.
No, that's fine.
And I want to bring my cast iron and my wok.
That's fine.
Especially my wok.
There's room in the kitchen.
Both of them.
And if there's not,
woks.
We'll make space.
Well, speaking of making space, you can make space to send us stuff. I know it's a rough one, but it's still worse than some of the yours. VGLpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics. Tweet them to us, VGL Podcast, or drop by the Discord, which you can find a link to that over at VGLpodcast.podbean.com. And if you wish to spread the love, you can find us on your podcatcher of choice. Our lovely, lovely patrons have made this madness possible. You can find out more about that over at patreon.com/VGLpodcast. Our intro and outro music is on the ground by Ken McLeod. You can find his work over at incompetech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
See ya.
Bye-bye.